That was the first moment. The next day was more important. They had an opportunity to play volleyball. God works in wondrous ways, in mysterious ways, as wonders do perform. It's hardly visible anymore. And Kevin was injured. Kevin's dad had strategically, as the Lord would have it planned, parked a flatbed truck in the yard with some sheets of steel roofing extending from the back of the truck bed. Kevin came out of the house in a hurry to go to work, ran straight into the corner of those sheets of steel, cutting his cheek clear back to his neck. Fortunately, as the Lord would have it, a special surgeon was in town who had devised a new way of stitching and put over 100 stitches into Kevin's face that day. He made the concert that night, or a day or two later, but he couldn't play volleyball yet. But as the Lord would have it, Kim had broken her wrist. In what Kevin called a controlled skiing accident. So the two of them were both forced to sit on the sidelines while everybody else played volleyball. They just sat there and stared at the walls. After that meeting, Kevin went over to Julie and asked for for Kim's email address. When Kim became aware of that, she sent Kevin a letter and said, "What's the matter? You afraid to ask yourself?" We're off to a great start here. That was in January of 2006, and on January 31st of 2006, she had sent that email back, and then in early February, the tour was done in Oklahoma, and they were coming back home, but they stopped one more time at the Sorrel home, and there is where you learned what a poor card player he was. He was turning 6s for 9s and upside down. Yes, yes. But it was right after you left that Kevin told the family, "I believe I have found my wife." In July of 2006, Rodney made an outstanding purchase of a vehicle in Butte, Montana. And on the internet, and he had to travel all the way up here. He made this eBay purchase, had to travel all the way up. And Kevin thought, what a great chance to get close to Cody, Wyoming. Kevin was working at a bank. He went and asked the banker for time off so he could make this 2 or 3 day trip to Cody, Wyoming to help his brother get the truck and bring it back home. And the boss said, "Sorry, buddy, can't go." And Kevin said, "Here's your badge. I quit." Kevin intended to be on that trip, and so he was. He came. He quit the bank at that moment. They started out. They came to Butte, Montana, and thought, well, now the closest way back to Oklahoma has certainly got to be through Yellowstone Park. Yellowstone Park is not the closest way to anything. But Kevin thought it was. They brought the beautiful vehicle back down through Yellowstone, and it broke down on top of the pass, and they coasted through the east entrance. Barely coasted through a few moments after, a few minutes before 8 o'clock in the evening when the gate closed. They managed to get down, and the first person they thought of to call for help would be, of course, the Atnets. It was at that point that Jim noticed you were paying inordinate attention to his oldest daughter. He made a mental note of that. It appears you had to stay several days in order to get the vehicle repaired. Marilyn Atnet made a wonderful, you may remember this wonderful breakfast of gravy and biscuits and gravy. And of course, young Ben was an aspiring pilot at that moment, and he wanted to take you out and show you how he could roll the plane. forwards and the back hurts and And it was somewhere during that moment that you said, I'm sick. They hurriedly found an old bag that came with the plane when it was purchased. No one had ever needed it before. It had been there so long that the plastic had stuck together. And as I was told the story, it took longer to separate the plastic than it did to deliver the... They in fact said that, as it turned out, you covered the plane. In January of '07, it was time for another tour. You're getting to where you're making these tours. Another tour back to Oklahoma.